Hey guys, let me know what you think by liking and commenting, and it really helps me and this channel out when you subscribe, so please click that button. Thanks a bunch. Hey everyone, today I'm going to take you through a bare wire install. In other words, there's no plug to plug into, nothing like that. A bare wire install where you have to take the wires from the locomotive and actually hook them up to the controller. I'm specifically making this tutorial for people who may have been a little bit freaked to try this on their own or maybe found some of the ones too complicated. I am literally going to make this as quick and sort of extra free as possible. No fuss, no muss. If you're like me and you might learn by just sort of seeing something going, oh, well, now that makes sense. Well, I have chosen the easiest models I could possibly think of to convert to DCC with a bare wire. I have specifically chosen Life-Like Proto F units. These are F3s or F7s, I don't know. They all look the same to me, but either way, these are Life-Like Proto. And the reason why I'm doing that is because these are ubiquitous and cheap. You know, everyone can use F units, right? You all need more F units. So you can get these for under $40 anytime on eBay just about, and make sure they're running. And the reason why I chose these is because the chassis looks like this. I don't want to teach you on an Athearn chassis to begin with. I want something that looks just like this. So Life-Like Proto, which are a little bit cheaper than Walther's Proto. And if you want, you can get Athearn Genesis. Those are fine. Those have this kind of deep box-like chassis. Those ones are all fine, but I think the cheapest ones, and they look great. The Life-Like ones look great. So get those if you possibly can. And here we go. I'm going to start with the B unit first because it doesn't need anything except not even a light. All you have to simply do is kind of dig your nails underneath this shell, pull it out slightly, and let the chassis drop away. And that's what we have here. And it exposes the circuit board that helps run this. This actually has an 8-pin. It's actually for an 8 function. Actually, I guess you can do it with a 7. Yeah, it looks like you could do it with a 6 or 7 function decoder by soldering directly into these ports and then cutting a few, but we're not going to bugger with all that, especially since I want to teach you how to do a direct wire. But what we are going to do is we are going to take a look and see which wires are plugged into the motor plus, and the other one on the other side here will be motor minus. In this particular case, it's red into the plus and black into the minus, but that won't always be the case, so be really careful. It's often the case that the red wire is on the right side of the chassis or the engineer's side, and the black is on the left side or the conductor's or fireman's side, I guess, if you're using older terminology. But that's not always the case. You have to ignore the color and look at the side it's on. In fact, with a lot of Walther's Proto, like E units, it's reversed. The red is on the left or conductor side, and the black is on the right side. So you can never really go off of that. So it's better just to go ahead and look. And again, these are hooked up. It looks like the engineer's or right side front actually ties into the back. I'm not entirely sure why that is. All right, make sure that your locomotive works. It's got to work on DC first before you try to do a DCC conversion. And if it doesn't work on DC, you've got to fix it. You got to make it work first. Now, you might be wondering why I'm not starting you off with an Athearn Blue Box. This is the frame and the towers from an Athearn Blue Box, but it's not a motor. Yeah, it's not the actual Athearn motor, but the reason why I'm not starting you off on one of these is these can be very quirky. Athearn Blue Boxes can be extremely quirky. Some of them work great, and others just give you different weird problems. But you're just going to have to trust me on this one. Don't start with an Athearn Blue Box. I'll help you with those later, but it's just not a good time for that. All right, so what we'll do with this one is we'll start by unscrewing the retaining screws. Some of them will have clips, some of them will have screws. Just get the board out of there. That's the first thing, is just get the board out of there. Once again, make note of the wires. In this particular case, the red wires all go into the right side of the board. If you know, you kind of take that curved side as the front, and again, the red wire of the motor goes into the M plus, and the other one will go into the M minus. Start by removing these caps that hold the wires onto these pins. Caps, I think I'll call them clips once in a while, but I think caps is probably right. If you feel comfortable soldering, I almost always solder, but if you don't feel comfortable from that, I don't want you to do something you don't feel comfortable with, so we'll just reuse these in this example. right, this is what you should end up with. You should not have a board in there. You can see the top of the motor, which is flat, which will help you place the new board, and just a bunch of wires that have exposed ends. 3 wires on one side, 2 for the track pickups for the right, and 1 for the motor, and 3 on the left side, 2 for the track pickups and 1 for the motor. So that's the way it should look. Make sure yours is similar, hopefully, and we will get to installing the controller. The decoder we're going to use today to make this as easy as possible for you is the Eco-PNP for diesel, part number 882004, made by SoundTraxx. It's going to be the easiest one to work with. You don't have to worry about identifying the wires and twisting them together properly or any of that. And not only that, this one is EMD 567 right out of the box, which is exactly what you need to make this sound correct. Now, if you don't want to use the sound, you don't have to. These are cheap enough to where I don't think you can worry about it. But if you do use the sound, you're going to have to solder the leads in. There's really no way to use the clip to get those in there, so you're going to have to take some solder time. I guess you could use some electroconductive glue. That's your other option. Okay, let's take a look at where everything goes. Firstly, this is the front, the thing with the square microchip, but when you turn on its side, it kind of looks like a diamond, right? Next, put the 2 red wires into what is closest to the bottom of the screen. This is where the track right leads go. The track left leads go on what is the uppermost pegs. If looking at it this way, that's the left side of the decoder. The motor positive, which is the red wire, goes into the rightmost of these 2 pegs that are in the center on the upper side, at least the upper side as far as how we're looking at it. And then the black motor lead goes into the left of those 2 pegs. That's motor minus. I'm going to roll through this pretty fast. Basically, just take the ends of the wire and just twist them so that they're it gets nice and bundled together. You don't want a lot of frayed ends. It'll be really tough to get them into those little holes. So just twist them so that it's one solid piece. From there, insert the little twisted end into the correct hole on the correct post that you need. All I like to do is slot it. I like to do it from the bottom. I think it works better, but it doesn't really matter, but I think it works better. And I like to kind of fold the end over here so that the clip has something to grab onto. That's what it'll look like here. That little clip will go over the post and it'll kind of bind things really tight. The other way to do this is to solder it. That's what I actually like to do. I like soldering things in place. That's more secure. It just makes me feel like it'll last longer. I guess another option that I mentioned before is to use electroconductive glue if you want. I don't really have any recommendations for that. I don't use electroconductive glue, but apparently it works pretty well. Okay, we'll put this little cap over the end now, and that'll pinch the wire down. And if you put kind of the semicircle in the bottom, that'll give the wire someplace to go. So you just push it in there, kind of make sure it's sitting in there, and this is what it should look like. It's pretty easy. Sometimes you have to be a little bit careful. Sometimes they're a little bit loose, or sometimes they're actually strange a little bit tight and have a tendency to pop off. That's part of the reason I like to solder these down, but there's no requirement that you do that. Just make sure that you're fairly sure that this cap is snug over the post. All right, I'll do one more on camera here so that you can get a feel for how this is supposed to go. Push this cap on there, do a few more of these, and we will get this tidy. There we go. Now all the track left and rights are in place. So that's what it should look like. Refer to that diagram I gave earlier if you're not sure. And remember, the instructions also show which side these need to go in as well. And by the way, you may notice that I have some double-sided tape on here. In actuality, I switched to dry tack after a while. I realized that dry tack would protect the decoder from the heat a little bit better, and it would help push the decoder over those posts that you see that are protruding to the inside of the chassis. It doesn't matter which order you do these in. If you want to, you could put these motor ones on first. That's fine. It's the same procedure. Just twist these ends and then put them into the holes and then put the caps over the top of them. That's all you have to do. Let's put this on the track, and there is a little blue LED on this PNP board that lights up if everything's powered correctly. Can't really test it on my rig because my rig doesn't put out enough voltage in order to get the motor running, but I can certainly see if the power's coming on. If you got one set of the track leads crossed on one side compared to the other, it'll most likely just short your DC rig. So let's put it on the track and give it some power, see what happens here. Let's see if that blue light comes on. All right, looks really good. Power's on. It seems like everything's fine. My unit didn't short. In fact, the power light stayed on, so I'm pretty confident that I've wired everything in correctly. All right, the speakers have to be soldered in or something else, but they don't allow you to use these little clips. So you actually, and you know, it's S minus, S plus. It doesn't matter which way. It's an AC signal, so there's no polarity. So I'm going to have to go solder these in. My soldering iron's downstairs, so I'm going to head on down there and I'll be right back.
Hey, you guys watching Judge Judy? Didn't I tell you if Judge Judy comes on, you're supposed to calm me down? What? I told you to call me. Well, give me these.
Just a second. Very easy. They come and take the dog from you.
Yeah, just. Yeah.
Do you understand that?
Yes, that's correct.
Right?
Yes.
Do you live in the same place?
I do.
That's. We're done.
Yeah, you just got judged. You just got Judied.
I can't. I got another problem here. I gotta send somebody from this squadron to Miramar. I gotta do something. Fighter pilots in the world. You were number 2. Cougar was number 1. Cougar lost it, turned in his wings.
Just leave it. Just leave it. I don't want to sign. Just sign it. Just forge my name and just leave it. What? Is that a badge? Is that a warrant? Oh, hey, why don't you guys pause this? God.
Okay, it literally took me less than 5 minutes to get up, turn on the soldering iron, solder these, and come back here. No time at all. Let's go ahead and plop this down onto the track, and if we did everything right, we should hear it start up. There's that, easy peasy. I'm just going to now take this off of the track and I'm going to put the speaker into a little pocket made out of electrical tape that the speaker can rest in. It's nothing special, I'll just stretch this electrical tape until it has enough clearance over the drive shaft, but is deep enough to hold the speaker. So that's all I'm gonna do. If I just plop this down in there, looks like it's gonna be a little bit high, so I will simply just remove a little bit of the tape from one of the sides. You can see how it's still got plenty of clearance over the drive shaft. Just peel this up, make it go down just a little bit further, and we'll take it as soon as I get this here. We'll take a look and make sure that it has enough clearance over the drive shaft. It looks like it still does. Just plop the speaker right there, and it's good to go. If you want, sometimes I put some super glue on the bottom of the tape just to make sure that the speaker doesn't walk around a whole bunch. And also that'll make sure that the little electrical contacts on the speaker don't short on the chassis, which is really bad. If you short the speaker wires, you're definitely going to kill the sound portion of the controller. No doubt about it. I've unfortunately done it a couple times and had to learn my lesson a few different ways. All right, we'll test it once again. Make sure I didn't mess anything up. We'll plop this back down on the track and we will once again turn on the power and we'll see if it starts up. Okay, let's put it on the track. It will be assigned the address 3, so that's what we'll start with. Okie dokie, that's it for this lesson. We're going to build on this and we're going to work with the A unit next. But you can actually go and pull things with this now if you want to. If you think it might be new, however, go ahead and run it for about an hour, a bunch of different speeds, backwards and forwards, about 30 minutes each. That way, you know, the motor and everything, all the gears and everything are going to be broken in. So do that, but well, that's it for now. We're going to leave it at 3 because I'm going to teach you how to do the CV values in lesson 3. So that's coming up. I'm going to teach how to do the CV values, how to do all the default CVs, and then I'm going to go through speed matching and consisting in lesson 3. So stay tuned for that. And like always, I really appreciate your viewership, comments, likes, and subscribes. All those things help me, and it helps me to know that I'm doing something positive in this world, especially after taking so much out of it for my entire life. Take care out there. I hope to see you soon. Happy model railroading. Talk to you later.